So I recently went through a radical fat loss transformation that absolutely changed my life. I lost about 15 kgs of pure body fat, and there's a lot of mistakes and errors I made along the way. In fact, my journey at the beginning wasn't so smooth. It was actually rough. Some days I would lose weight, some days I would gain weight. It just wasn't consistent. My rate of fat loss was really slow, and I didn't know what I was doing. Eventually, as I continued to lose more body fat, I eventually learned certain techniques. I learned certain things that made my fat loss journey a lot more easier. Today I'm going to be breaking to you 9 reasons why you're not losing body fat. And the funny thing about this is I've made almost all of these mistakes and errors and all of these reasons myself. So I'm talking from personal experience and things that have actually happened to me. If I knew about all these errors and mistakes, my fat loss journey would have been way smoother. It would have been way easier, and I probably would have lost the fat way quicker than I did. The first mistake you're making is you're not tracking your calories. Now, a long time ago, I wasn't tracking my calories. I would just eat less food and hope that I was in a calorie deficit. The problem with that is that there's no certainty in that. You have to understand that fat loss isn't a game. It's literally maths. It's a calculation. If you eat less calories than you're burning, your body still needs that energy, and it's going to use its own stored body fat as a source of fuel. So fat loss isn't some magical trick or magical game. It's literally maths. So much so that bodybuilders can even calculate and prepare for their shows to say that in this many weeks I'm going to lose this much body fat, and they know exactly how many calories they need to be eating on a day-to-day basis to lose a certain amount of body fat. It's literally a calculation. It's maths and science. So the reason you're not losing body fat is, 1, you don't know how many calories your body burns on a day-to-day basis, and 2, you're not tracking your food. You should start tracking your food intake so that you know exactly how much food you're eating, and then you can create a calorie deficit. Tracking calories gives you certainty. If you're not tracking your calories, you don't have certainty. You kind of are hoping that if I eat this much food, I'm going to lose body fat. But once you track calories, you're guaranteed, I'm eating this many calories, I'm going to lose body fat, because you've done the calculation. It's literal science. So my solution is for you to do this. Go to a TDEE calculator. TDE stands for total daily energy expenditure. You put in your height, weight, age, information about yourself, and what this does is it will calculate an estimate of how many calories your body uses on a day-to-day basis. This will give you a starting point to know that, okay, boom, I use 2,500 calories worth of energy every single day. Let me eat 500 calories less than that, and that will put you in a calorie deficit immediately, and you'll be able to start losing weight from there. Reason number 2 is you live a very sedentary lifestyle. Now, a lot of people in the modern day do live a sedentary lifestyle. This world is kind of designed in such a way that everything's so easy. We don't even move that much anymore, but the more you move your body, the more steps you do on a day-to-day basis, the more you just move around in general, the more calories you burn, because it takes calories for you to move your body more. So imagine 2 people. One person needs 2,000 calories a day, but they're like the laziest person on earth. They don't walk that much. They basically just sit all day. Let's say their job requires them to just sit on a computer all day. And then the other person does 10,000 steps a day, maybe does some incline walking on a treadmill, maybe does a little bit of cardio. So just imagine these 2 people are exactly the same weight, same height, everything. The only difference is one of them walks 10,000 steps a day, does a whole bunch of cardio, and the other one does nothing. The one who's walking, doing cardio, is gonna be burning way more calories than the person that's just doing nothing. One of the biggest changes that I made in my personal life was I started doing 10,000 steps a day consistently, and I slowly increased that to 15,000 steps a day. 15,000 steps a day for me was when I turned into like that fat burning machine. That was when fat loss became absolutely effortless. So for you, if you do 3,000 steps a day, start doing 4,000 steps a day, and that incremental increase from 3,000 to 4,000 steps, you will already be able to see an increase in your calories burned. So I encourage you, start moving more. Get a Fitbit or download an app on your phone that tracks how many steps you do on a day-to-day basis, and try and work yourself up to doing at least 10,000 steps a day. You don't even need to do hard cardio. Simply walking more will allow you to burn more calories. The next mistake you're making is you're eating too much ultra processed foods. The thing about ultra processed foods is that they're very easy to overconsume. In fact, food companies made it in such a way that they're very high calorie dense. In a small cookie, it could be like 300 calories easily. So it's easy to just eat like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of those cookies, and then you already eaten like 2,000 calories. Versus whole organic foods, things like rice, chicken. You can have chicken, rice, and broccoli for like 500 calories, and then like 2 small cookies cookies could be like 400, 500 calories. So you see how it's so easy to overconsume ultra processed foods and not even have that feeling of fullness. So those 2 cookies won't even fill you up. I've found the best approach is actually the 80-20 rule. It means 80% of your calories should come from these clean, whole, organic foods, things like chicken, rice, and broccoli. And then 20% of your calories can come from a sweet treat. A lot of people make the mistake of going way too restrictive. They go 100% on this chicken, rice, and broccoli. They say, I'm gonna eat clean, but that is not sustainable. You won't be able to keep that up for long enough. The best diet in the world is the diet that doesn't feel like a diet. So still track calories, make sure you're in a calorie deficit, and then let's say you eat in 2000 calories a day. It means 1600 of your calories should come from the clean, whole, organic food, and then you can have 400 calories worth of cookies. This makes it so much easier to stick to the diet because the diet doesn't feel like a painful lifestyle. The next mistake I see a lot of people making is you're eating healthy but high calorie. Healthy food doesn't necessarily mean it's good for fat loss. The best food for fat loss is going to be those low calorie dense foods, things like watermelon, fruits, vegetables. But then there's healthy food out there, but they're not necessarily good for fat loss. A good example would be nuts. Nuts are very healthy. They've got a lot of healthy fats, but they're high calorie. A few handfuls of nuts can easily be up to 1000 calories. 100 grams of watermelon, that is 30 calories. So that's going to be good for fat loss. I made this mistake in the beginning when I wasn't tracking my calories. I would just eat foods that I assumed were healthy, whole, organic foods, avocados, nuts, they're healthy, but the thing is they're high calorie. But when I started tracking my calories and seeing the numbers, that's when I started being careful with them. So that's why you need to start tracking your calories so that you're more aware of the actual number. The next mistake is one that I made quite often during the beginning stages of my fat loss. I would eat super clean, super healthy, super low calorie during the week, and then when it comes to the weekend, I would just binge and I wasn't tracking calories. And you binging on the weekend can actually mess up your fat loss journey completely because you can actually cancel your calorie deficit during the week. Let me give you an example. Let's say your maintenance calories is 2500 calories every single day. So during the week, Monday to Friday, you're eating 2000 calories, right? So it means 500 times 5. That means you're in a 2500 calorie deficit for the week. And then on the weekend, you eat 1000 calories over your maintenance. On Sunday, let's say you eat 1500 calories over your maintenance calories because you're just letting loose. You're like, I did well during the week. I stuck to my diet. Let me reward myself. Let me treat myself. So you can see 1500 calories over your maintenance on Sunday and 1000 calories over your maintenance on Saturday. If you add those 2 numbers up, that's already 2500 calories, which was your calorie deficit from Monday to Friday. So you letting loose and rewarding yourself has actually costed you an entire week's worth of dieting. And in the end of the day, your overall calorie deficit is 0. So you weren't in a calorie deficit, it has cancelled out. It doesn't matter if you're in a calorie deficit for 5 days of the week. What matters is your overall weekly calorie deficit. If your overall weekly calorie deficit cancels out, then you're not in a calorie deficit. What was the point of dieting? You've just changed your eating pattern from eating the same amount of food during the week versus on the weekend to saving calories and then just using those calories on the weekend. Think of calories like your budget. That's how much you need to eat to sustain yourself. So whether you eat the same amount of calories every single day consistently, or one day you eat low calorie, one day you eat high calorie, it cancels out and levels out at the end of the day. So what is the solution? The solution is to do this. Track calories even on weekends. During the week, keep a 600 calorie deficit, and then on the weekends only go to maintenance. So if your maintenance calories is 2500 calories, what you're going to do is do a 600 calorie deficit during the week, Monday to Friday. You're going to be eating 1900 calories every single day. What this does is it puts you in a 3000 calorie deficit for the week, and then on the weekend what you can do is you can eat at maintenance calories. So you eat 2500 calories. So you're eating more calories than you were eating during the week, but you're not eating so many calories that you're canceling the progress that you made during the week. So you're still in a weekly overall calorie deficit of 3000 calories. I would also say opt for cheat meals rather than cheat days. Cheat meals don't really mess up your progress as much as a cheat day, because a cheat day can be crazy sometimes. I can eat 5000 calories in one day if I really try to. So saying that I'm gonna eat a cheat meal is better. And even in your cheat meals, make sure it's high protein. Why not get buffalo wings for your cheat meal? So maintenance calories on the weekend, and then during the week you eating in a 600 calorie deficit. It will keep you in a 3000 calorie deficit overall for the week, which allows you to lose body fat sustainably. The The next mistake I see is you keep changing your protocol. Whether you said you're going to eat this diet or you're going to do this many steps on a day-to-day basis, if it's working, stick to it. Give it 2 weeks. 2 weeks. If you don't lose body fat, then you can adjust the protocol. But don't change. Don't go keto the 1 week. Don't go carnivore diet the next week. Don't eat random foods. The best thing that you can make is consistency. Consistency in the amount of steps you're doing on a day-to-day basis, and consistency in the food you're eating. Eating the same thing every single day is the best thing you can do, because it means you don't have to track calories. Imagine if you ate chicken, rice and broccoli in the same amount, in the same quantity for lunch every single day, and you ate the same dinner every single day, and you ate the same breakfast every single day. The calories are exactly the same. The food is exactly the same. Is the scale going down? If the scale is going down, perfect, it's working, stick to it. If the scale is not going down, it means you need to reduce your calories. But it's way easier to make adjustments when you're eating the same thing every single day. Now, during my journey, I made the mistake of one day I'll do 10,000 steps a day, one day I'll do 15,000 steps a day, and that deviation in the amount of steps actually changes the amount of calories you're burning on a day-to-day basis. So the diet would work on certain days when I'll do a certain amount of steps, and then on the other days when I'll do less steps, the diet wouldn't work. So my fat loss phase was like this because I was doing a different amount of exercise each day, and I was doing different amounts of cardio each day. So find a system that works and try and keep the same amount of daily steps to keep your calorie expenditure the same, and eat the same foods each day so that you know that your input, the amount of calories you're inputting into your body is the same. And then if it's working, just stick to it. Now, the next mistake is that you're not sleeping enough. Sleeping during a fat loss phase is so crucial. It's so important. It makes such a positive impact. I'll tell you a story. One time I had slept very late, and the next morning I woke up. I didn't feel the motivation and the drive to go on my morning walk. So I actually missed my morning walk because it was now late. I had to prepare to go somewhere. And I also felt lazy. Like that day, I wasn't able to keep the morning fast. I started craving junk food. I just wanted to eat earlier and sooner, and I wasn't as locked in. But when you get good sleep, you're locked in, you're focused. There's time to get your morning walk in. There's time to really think about your goals, where you're going. When you don't get enough sleep, you're just lazier. You don't care about your goals. You just want what you want now, and you're not seeing the future, and your mind is foggy. Another thing that happens when you don't sleep enough is your hormones get messed up. First of all, your stress hormone, your cortisol, is higher. So you're more stressed out. Your body can't even tap into fat stores as a source of energy as efficiently. Another thing that happens is ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone, goes up, making you want to just eat more food. Your body hasn't rested enough, and it hasn't stabilized itself properly. Another thing is leptin, which is your fullness hormone, goes down. So you actually feel less full. You just want to eat more. So sleep is so crucial for hormonal balance, but also just for your mindset and sort of your discipline, your willpower, your motivation on the journey. It's so crucial. Aim to get at least 8 hours of sleep. Now, the next mistake is you've hit a plateau. Now, a lot of people think that when they set their calories and they're eating this many calories every single day, they expect that to work forever. But what happens is when you lose body fat, your energy needs go down. You are 100 kgs, now you're 90 kgs, so you don't need as many calories. Just weighing more means that you need more calories, your metabolism's quicker. Because if you're doing 10,000 steps a day when you weigh 100 kgs, it's different to doing 10,000 steps a day when you weigh 90 kgs. Because you're lighter, you're less heavy, your body doesn't burn that much energy moving 90 kgs around. But even just standing, just walking around, just doing basic tasks, when your body's carrying 100 kgs, it burns more calories. So as you lose weight, you have to adjust your calorie deficit. You have to reduce your calories slightly, or you can increase your activity levels. So a lot of people, the diet was working for the first 4, 5, 6 weeks, and then by week 7 they're already starting to plateau. Progress is slowing down. If your weight stops dropping for 2 weeks in a row, then it means you have to either lower calories or increase activity slightly. When I started my fat loss journey, I weighed about 92 kgs. I was eating 3,000 calories a day, and I was in a calorie deficit on 3,000 calories. And the reason is because I was doing 12,000 steps at 92 kgs. Right now I'm 78 kgs and I'm eating way less calories than that. I'm cutting on 2,400 calories right now, and I'm doing way more steps than I did previously, because your body just burns less calories. 78 kgs versus 92 kgs, there's a big difference in terms of your weight. So even just maintaining 92 kgs, it needs higher calories. Nextly is you're just impatient. Results take time, especially if any of the other points that I've spoken about before this point is hindering your progress. If you want to lose a good amount of body weight, it's just going to take time. Going from 92 kgs to 72 kgs for me took about 6 months. And there was a whole bunch of delays from other things, from the points before that was delaying my progress. So really, it doesn't matter how long it takes, because as long as you eventually reach your goal, that's the whole point. It's a lifestyle. You're changing your mindset, you're changing your habits, you're changing your belief systems. Even if it takes 6 months, it's fine, because that's a new version of yourself that's here to stay for another 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, for the rest of your life. The whole point of fat loss is not to lose the fat and then gain it back. It's to slowly lose the fat, and the slower you can lose the fat, the more time your brain, your identity, your habits can shift, so that the fat loss becomes more permanent. Think of it like this: if you lost 10 kgs in 2 weeks, you're likely to gain it back because you haven't mastered the habits, the systems that got you to lose that body fat in the first place. So when you lose the body fat, boom, you've lost the body fat, but your mindset is still at that 92 kg version of yourself, so you just revert back. But if you slowly lose the weight, it takes you 6 months to lose the weight, but now your body has time to adapt new habits, new systems. Now you become a different version of yourself throughout that process. So think of it like a process of refinement. As you lose the weight, your habits are changing, your mindset's changing, your systems are changing. So the longer it takes to lose weight, the more likely you are to keep that and stay at that lower weight for the rest of your life. So that's a silly excuse to say, oh, it's going to take too long. But it's 6 months is going to pass anyway. So you might as well slowly get into the best shape of your life.